Good afternoon, folks. Thank you so much for joining me today and learning a little bit more about Carleton University. My name is Celine Chartrand, and I'm a recruitment officer for Carleton University. I'm also a proud graduate from the Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry, and I actually graduated just last June 2019. But right now I'm going to throw it back to the year 2014 in September. And I was entering grade 12 and I was there with all my best friends, and we called ourselves a family, really, right? We had a great group of core friends and we were going in to tackle our senior year, our final year of high school. We felt like we were on top. I was a part of student council and in some clubs and societies, and everything was pretty normal and awesome. And all of a sudden, October rolls around, and over the PA system, the guidance counselors started making announcements about thinking about your future and your post-secondary journey and where you might want to go to university one day. So it kind of started getting me a bit stressed out, but it was really one day in particular where Mr. McNeil, my guidance counselor, got on the PA system and he announced that there was going to be a university fair in our cafeteria at lunch that day. So I, rounded up all my friends and we decided to walk up to the cafeteria, and I talked to several university representatives like myself now, and I had some great conversations, and I was able to really, kind of realize what universities were sort of on my radar per se. But it wasn't really until I started touring that I had a good idea and got a good idea of where I wanted to go. So I remember touring with my parents. We were going all over Ontario, and friends' older siblings would always tell me that you'll get a feeling when you step on a campus that feels right. After touring several university campuses, I never got that feeling that people were telling me about. So I seriously got this overwhelming feeling, and stress really started to set in. So, I can understand if you're feeling stressed right now, because I really did at that time as well. But there was one weekend where I went home and I said to my parents, we should maybe make a trip up to Ottawa, right? We'll spend a nice weekend in a hotel. We'll have a nice family time, whatever. We'll go to Carleton University and check out the campus there. It was kind of the last one on my list of the campuses I wanted to tour. So we packed up the car. We drove, 4.5, 5 hours from my small hometown in Muskoka, Ontario, and ended up in Ottawa for the weekend. And I actually met up with my best friend's older brother. His name is Braden. And at the time, he was a current second-year student. He was still living on residence, and he was actually in engineering. And I remember pulling up and going into residence and meeting him in his room with all of his second-year current, student best friends. And they were all so excited about the Carleton experience. They were beaming with positivity and enthusiasm about all the student experience they had had over their first year, the academics that they had experienced already in their first year. And so really that sold me right away. Talking to a current student who had an awesome experience in their program as a first-year student really got me excited. So I was pretty much sold at that point, but we decided to tour, of course, and it was a cold day. And when we saw campus, I just fell in love. First of all, Carleton is located in an amazing city. And for me, being from a small town, it was important to get that big city opportunity and big city experience. But what I loved about Carleton is that it also sort of felt like home. It was like a community, and it was surrounded by beautiful nature. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I rushed home from my weekend in Ottawa that weekend with my parents, and I put Carleton on my list, on the top choice of universities. I put them down on OUAC, and I applied to the Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry. And fast forward a year later, I was on my way to the nation's capital. The truck was full to the brim, and I was going to be moving into residence, leaving home for my first time. And that sense of community that I talked about really hadn't left over my whole undergrad experience. And even as a staff member now, it's just grown more strong being a part of the Carleton community. And with that, Carleton University acknowledges the location of its campus being on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. This is a really important statement for us. This year, we've actually connected and sort of partnered with a lot of Indigenous people within our community, within Carleton, but also our greater Ottawa community. And we came together to, create or understand or recognize 41 calls to action, where we can sort of move forward and reconcile our relationship with our Indigenous students and Indigenous people within our community. And this strategy or plan is called Kinamagwin, which means learning together. And in this photo and behind, you can actually see this is our Ojibwinong Center on campus, and it's central in our campus and super accessible for all Indigenous and not Indigenous students to come together and learn more about the Indigenous culture, while also creating a safe space for our Indigenous students. Carleton itself, I've talked a lot about community already within this presentation, and you do get a sense of community within the people that you're surrounding yourself with, whether it's your friends, residents, being in a certain faculty, but really the location of our campus also portrays a community. So Carleton itself, you can see we're actually surrounded by a few borders. So we make a triangle, and you can see that we're actually between the bodies of water to the left and right, and as well that main strip of road that you can see along the top. All of that in between is Carleton's campus. And this makes for a really community campus, a real traditional university experience, everything is being in one spot for you as a student at Carleton. Everyone you meet and everything you see will be a part of your Carleton experience, which is really, really cool. Up at the top left, you can see a few buildings that are all sort of, pushed in together there. Those are all of our residence buildings. So it's an opportunity to really get into a residence community, meet other first-year students coming to Carleton. You don't have to walk anywhere to meet them. It's all in one community together, which is really nice. To the right of that, you can see our athletics facilities over there. So, maybe you'll go see varsity sports teams play. Maybe you'll go to the gym or join a yoga class. That's kind of all in one spot as well as a community. And down on the bottom part of the triangle there, you'll actually see all of our academic buildings. And one thing that makes one of my favorite pieces about Carleton is actually not, visible in this photo. And that's our 5 kilometers of underground heated tunnels. And this allows students to get from any building to the next, all underground. You don't ever have to step outside. And why that's really exciting and beneficial for our students is because of our colder winters. And also, even if it's just raining outside, you don't have to step outside at all. You can stay dry and warm underground. But this is not only exciting for us as students walking around and avoiding that weather, but also it makes us one of the most accessible campuses in all of Canada, which is something that we're really proud about, and I hope you are too when you become a Raven. These borders that I sort of pointed your eyes to earlier, they do represent some awesome things and really make up our campus. So to the left is the Rideau Canal, and the Rideau Canal is the best because in the winter it actually turns into the longest skating rink in the world. So it does run right beside our campus. You can get right on the Rideau Canal from your residence building. You can skate on the canal with your friends, go all the way down to Byward Market, do some shopping at the Rideau Center, come back and grab a beaver tail and hot chocolate on the way home. But what I really loved about it is I lived on the canal or close to when I was in my upper year, and in the nicer weather, I used to bike on the biking trails to school every day. I also had a professor. His name was Root, and he was actually our plant professor in my 3rd year. He would actually canoe into class every day. He lived right on the canal, and he would canoe and park his canoe, come and do his lecture and leave. So it really makes a cool aspect to our campus for travel, really, to get into campus. The Rideau Canal really represents innovation. So students going and graduating with so much knowledge to share with the world, because the Rideau Canal was actually invented and man-made for materials to be, sent around the city or for people to travel around the city. So it really does represent that innovation that our students, are able to gain as they go through their university experience at Carleton. On the right-hand side is the Rideau River. This is probably one of my favorite spots on campus. I spent a lot of time here having picnics with friends, studying, just taking a deep breath between classes and just getting outside. The Rideau River never freezes, so it's always flowing, and it's just a really beautiful place to, look at trees and look in the water and see the ducks going around. It really was a connection for me to my hometown in Muskoka. I love being around nature. I grew up near the water, so it really did connect me to home and was that really nice release when I was feeling stressed out. And the Rideau River really represents Carleton's strive for sustainability and for student mental health and wellness. So they're always trying to be better and trying to, improve their student wellness on campus. It's really important for them. We have a few ways that we do that, which we'll talk about later. But one thing I love, bragging about is that our campus is actually one of the most sustainable campuses in all of the world. I think we rank #1 in Ontario and like the 2nd in Canada for sustainability. So it's pretty amazing that our campus is always striving to be better in those areas. And along the top is Bronson Avenue. And Bronson Avenue is a main road that runs right through Ottawa. So you can get right downtown from our campus on Bronson Avenue. It takes about 15 minutes. And we're also about 15 minutes from the Ottawa International Airport. So being in Ottawa, it's a pretty amazing thing. We are the nation's capital. We're one of the G7 capitals of the world. You don't get experiences anywhere else like you do being here in Ottawa. Opportunities to work in federal government, doing research for Health Canada, maybe working at the Supreme Court of Canada one day if you want to go into law school. So there's a lot of really great opportunities that sort of complement degrees being right here in the nation's capital. And Bronson Avenue really does then represent our gateway to, our own community within Ottawa, but then also the world, where you'll be able to network with alumni who are all over. Maybe you do an international exchange or volunteer in another country. So again, these are our sort of core values that we do have at Carleton, sharing knowledge and shaping the future, serving our Ottawa community, but also being connected to the world, and of course, striving for wellness and sustainability. So during this presentation, we're going to be touching on a few main topics. The first being programs, then we'll jump into student financial aid. We'll talk a little bit about student, wellness and sort of how you're supported as a first-year student and as a student as you're in an upper year at Carleton as well. We'll also talk about residents in our cafeteria, which is exciting. And then finally, we'll end off with our varsity sports and how to get involved. But before we jump in, we don't want this conversation to end after this presentation. We have really brainstormed some great ideas to stay connected to you, not even just through this presentation, but after this presentation, to continue the conversation and to stay connected with you folks. We are live this year online, doing things virtually, and it really does make a good opportunity to stay connected. So the first thing we have is our Live at 5 events. This is an opportunity to jump on every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. We'll be spotlighting and highlighting a new service. So we'll be talking about things like clubs and societies, residents. I'll actually be doing one on awards and financial aid. So definitely check those ones out. It's just a good way to sort of dive into a specific topic. We also have our podcast this year, which is super exciting. Stanley Philippe, he's my coworker in the middle there. He's actually the host of the Talking Raven podcast, and he's going to be talking all things Carleton, interviewing current students, maybe even a student that's in a program you're interested in. So definitely check that out on Spotify. We also have our Future Raven coffee breaks. So this is an opportunity for you to jump on and register with myself or one of my several other recruitment colleagues. We can talk face-to-face in a meeting, and you can ask any of your burning questions. Invite your parents or family, or even invite your best friends with you if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable being one-on-one. But it's a really great way to connect and ask your questions there. And all of these links will be posted in our Q&A chat, which I'm sure you folks can see right now. And I highly encourage you, as you're going through this presentation, ask any questions you have in that chat as well. We've got an awesome group of recruiters on the back end ready to answer anything that you have to ask. So we're going to jump into programs right away. And at Carleton, we have 5 different faculties, with 22 degree programs. And if you're wondering, like, what is a faculty? A faculty is essentially a house. So you can look at it like the faculty is a roof that sort of organizes all of our programs by discipline within them. Okay. So before I begin, if anyone is interested in a particular program, throw it in the chat. We'd love to see, what kind of backgrounds or interests that you're coming from, and let us know what you're interested in. So within the arts and social sciences, this is our first faculty we'll be talking about. And it really is a program or a faculty that connects students to solving real world problems. The first thing that I'll point your eyes to is our Bachelor of Arts program. Okay, it's the first one listed there. And you might be wondering, like, where's psychology? Where's anthropology, sociology? These are all sort of majors or concentrations that are combined within the Bachelor of Arts. Okay, so you can go and specialize in any of these sort of areas. So definitely take a look at our view book or view it on our website to sort of figure out what concentrations that we do offer within our Bachelor of Arts. So what I really love about this program is that our faculty is really challenging our students. They don't want them to just, get information and digest it. They want them to ask questions back, right? They want to have their students discussing things and debating things and questioning real world topics and real world problems that are going on. And so with that, Carleton has actually introduced several years ago first year seminar courses. And so this is an opportunity to join a seminar where you're going to be in a cohort of about 20 to 30 students with one professor. And within this cohort, you're going to be able to discuss and talk and question, right? You're not in a big classroom, you're in a small, intimate classroom to discuss these things. So some of the course topics that are being held this year include things like psychology of violence, politics on Netflix, blackness and anti-racism, are you a feminist? So you can tell that these are all like really important topics that our students are talking about and really starting conversations about. The student on the right here, his name is Jordan, and he actually is a Bachelor of Global and International Studies student, or he graduated actually this past year. And BGINS, we call it for short, Bachelor of Global and International Studies, combines learning about culture, like history, language, religion, with the international side of things, which include things like politics and law and judicial systems. So combining those two. And Jordan here, he had an amazing undergrad experience where he actually was able to participate in 10 different conferences within his undergrad. So in his second year, he went to The Hague in the Netherlands, where he actually sat on a panel to discuss political sort of stances. And when he got into his fourth year, he actually went to the United Nations headquarters in New York City, where he sat on a panel to discuss Indigenous people's rights. So he had an amazing experience, and this is something that he did in his undergrad degree. And you'll notice as I go through these programs, there's a little logo on the bottom left here. It says register360.carleton.ca. This is a great way to connect with us and to enter your interests or interested program, and we'll send you information about the program that you're interested in. So it's very customized to you, but you'll get some great information about a program you're interested in. The next faculty we'll chat about is public affairs. So this is a really cool, faculty, and it's perfectly connected within our nation's capital. So there's an extensive list of programs there, which really trains students on addressing challenges in media, law, communications, economics, politics. The list really goes on, right? But things that are really complemented within our nation's capital, right? So, for example, we have our program called Public Affairs and Policy Management. This is a program where students are basically graduating and they're working in government to tackle big decision making. These students are graduating and making huge decisions that affect our whole country. And so as a great example, this year, of course, COVID-19, right? I'm sure all of you listening know about what that is. And our students who have graduated this program would be on those panels and teams to discuss where the CERB money is being sent to. Are we going to go in lockdown? These are all decisions that need to be made by some sort of committee, and these graduates are doing that. Ben is a student, and he's showcased on the left here. He actually was a part of our PAGE program at Carleton. And a PAGE program, it's actually a very unique opportunity for students applying to university in Ottawa. And they have the opportunity to work on Parliament Hill for their full first year of university. You'll get paid a very competitive salary, get a scholarship from us, and get hands-on experience on Parliament Hill. Maybe you'll work with some amazing MPs, you'll be working in the House of Commons, and even maybe meet the PM like Justin Trudeau or whoever is prime minister at the time that a student would be doing this program. So really cool experiences, and when you graduate, you'll have that knowledge already and be able to work on campaigns with political leaders, which is really amazing. The Faculty of Engineering and Design is a really cool one at Carleton. It's really cool because the two engineering and design sort of pieces are combined, and that's fairly unique to see those sort of combination there. A lot of times engineering and design can be separate, but they've really come together to make a really strong faculty and do a lot of collaboration with each other, which is awesome. So there are several programs listed underneath here. The one I'll talk about first is engineering. So at Carleton, we have 13 different streams of engineering, and they include more traditional programs such as, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering, but then we also have some more really unique and cool ones that we do at Carleton, which include things like aerospace engineering, where students are learning about drones and airplanes. But maybe you'll also go into something like biomedical and mechanical, or biomedical and electrical engineering, where students are literally combining biology and science with engineering and like building prosthetic arms and pacemakers and things to, impact people's health, which is really cool. The other programs listed underneath the faculty title there are all of our design programs. And for an example, the students that you can see on the right-hand side, they're a part of our information technology program. And they're actually working on an autonomous car, which is a car that drives itself, right? So this is a lab that they're in their undergrad doing some amazing hands-on work and getting experiential learning as undergraduate students. I have a friend, a really good friend, and she was actually in architectural engineering. In her second year, I believe, she took a trip with architecture students. So there was a mix of architecture students and architectural engineering students, and they went to Myanmar in South Asia, where they were actually surveying ruins that had never been surveyed or touched before. So they were putting these ruins on the map. They were, making these, they were reporting them, right, which is really cool. So that was an amazing experience she had over the summer. And then when she got home, she got right into her co-op, where she worked on Parliament Hill. And Parliament Hill is in a 10-year process right now where they're, revamping and remodeling the whole building, trying to make it more safe and secure. And she was actually on a team where she would go into rooms as an architectural engineer, and she would look at a piece in a room and say, okay, this is a really great old historic piece or piece of furniture. As we go through this renovation, this cannot be changed. This needs to stay historic. So she was on a conservation team, which is a really cool opportunity, working on Parliament Hill, right, in Ottawa. So you don't need to be in politics. You don't need to be in public affairs to have these opportunities in our nation's capital as well, which is really awesome. The Faculty of Science, which is one of my favorite, of course, because I am a Bachelor of Science graduate, so I'm pretty biased, but we have some amazing programs within this faculty. Specifically, I'd like to talk about, my experience as a science student. And first off, when I got into my science degree, I had an absolutely amazing time in my first year. I got hands-on experience. I had 4 labs to complement my 5 courses both semesters. So while it was a bit of work, it was so worth it because I was able to have so much more knowledge than I ever would otherwise. But really, it was when I got into my second year, and I remember taking inorganic chemistry. I registered for inorganic chemistry, and I remember being so nervous. I had never touched a course like this before. And I, got into my second week and I wasn't doing so well already. I was not really understanding the coursework and I was getting really nervous. So I decided to take advantage of my professor's office hours, and all of our professors always encourage you to do it, but I was always a little bit nervous too. But this time around, I was like, no, I need a good grade. I'm going to my professor's office hours. So I showed up, and the professor that year was Maria DeRosa. And Maria DeRosa was a woman in science. She was a chemistry leader at Carleton, and she still is. And I really ended up making a really good connection with her. And she became a mentor to me and someone who I just really looked up to in our science community after that year. I ended up ending the course with a great grade, if you're wondering, like a B+ or an A-, something like that. So that was great. But it really was when I got into my upper year. We started discussing, as groups, where we would be researching in our 4th year. And at Carleton, you have an opportunity as an honor student to actually work in a professor's lab for a full year and complete a thesis. So at that time, when I was deciding what professor I wanted to work with, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and ask Maria DeRosa if I can work with her. So I went into her office. I ended up setting up an interview, and I sent in an application, and not too long after, she accepted me into her lab. So I was super pumped. And in my 4th year, I actually got to work on, understanding a better way to target blood clots in stroke patients and diagnose them using MRI and CT technologies. And I was going to the Ottawa Hospital and doing some amazing work, hands-on experience as an undergrad student working for, this amazing professor, award-winning professor. And then not too long after that, it doesn't end there. I actually ended up getting a published paper out of this research that I did. It was about a year later, and I got an email from Maria, and she was super thrilled to tell me that some of the research I did was going to be published in a real journal article. And I was just an undergrad student, so it's just amazing some of the opportunities that we do have as undergrads at Carleton. Before I move on from the Faculty of Science, I have to give a shout out to our comp sci students, or our computer science students at Carleton. They have a really cool opportunity as well, where we actually have a partnership with Shopify. And Shopify is an awesome platform for people to basically sell their goods, whether you're a small business owner, or you're Kylie Jenner and you're selling your makeup, or Elon Musk, who sells his Teslas through Shopify. So it's a really cool startup company to work for. And our students have a partnership where they can apply and work at Shopify for their full 4 years of university, while Shopify pays for your tuition, and you also get paid a competitive salary from them. So it's an incredible experience. If you're wondering, you want more information about it, I'm sure it'll be popped in that Q&A chat over on the side there. But it is called the Dev Degree Program, and a great opportunity for computer science students. All right, the final faculty for today. Stay with me, folks. Sprott School of Business. So the Sprott School of Business is really cool. We've got 2 programs within it, but really what this faculty aims for is connecting and networking with students. And so what they do is they really try and connect students within their own community, but also students with faculty members and with alumni. They really try and make those connections, and the faculty really care for the undergrad students at that point to help them make those connections and networking to move on from their undergrad degree. So what they've done is they've actually built a brand new building, and it's gorgeous. Of course, it's on the left there. You can kind of see a faded photo of it, but this building is brand new. No one has ever stepped in it before. So the students watching who are applying to Sprott, you will be the first set of students or cohort of students to ever step foot in this building and experience it. But it's really made for to make an awesome community for our Sprott students to continue that networking and connection making. So within commerce, that's our first degree within the Sprott School of Business. There's a great opportunity for students to sort of combine different interests of theirs. So maybe you want to go into accounting, which is great, but you also want to get that entrepreneurship background. You can do both of those concentrations at once. So it's a really good opportunity for students to customize their degree to what they want. International business is a little bit different. Students are actually able to come in and they're going to be learning a language in their first and second year. And in their third year, they'll actually do an international experience abroad where they'll go to a country that complements the language and they'll work or study there for a full year. The students on the right, you can see they're actually in Africa, and they do a program called Buckets to Rain Barrels, where our Sprott students, they sort of collaborate with our design students at Carleton, where our design students are creating new technologies to bring to villages and communities in Africa, where our Sprott students are doing more of like the business side. So taking care of the money, is it sustainable? How are we getting it there? So it's a really cool collaboration that students are able to do and have an amazing experience out of. All right, so we're going to move away from that program chat and talk a little bit more about how we support our students at Carleton. So over $24 million was given in scholarships and bursaries in 2019 and 2020, so this past year. And so this is really important for us and for students, right? It's a stressful time to think about that financial aspect of university. It's an expensive investment, but it's worth it. And we're there to support you as you go through that investment as well. So we do have our entrance scholarships at Carleton. So free money for any student coming in with over an 80% average, you're going to get some sort of scholarship for that. So you can get $4,000 up to $16,000 over your 4 years. And this is renewable at an A- standing, which means when you come to university, you're going to have to maintain an A- or an 80% average. If you do drop below that 1 year, it's all good because the next year you can get it right back up and we'll give you your scholarship back. So even though you might lose it, we'll give it back to you, right? We always want you to, try and motivate yourself and work for that scholarship that you can get at that A- standing, which is great. So great opportunity to get some money there for sure. We also have our prestige scholarships. So this is an opportunity for students to get $20,000 to full tuition. These are for students who have a minimum of 90% average, and they've been really involved in their community, whether it's, student council, being on sports teams, clubs and societies. It's just, they're kind of go above and beyond really, and they get a great scholarship out of it as well. And this is also renewable at an A- standing as you go through university. But it is important to note that the prestige scholarships are an application based, whereas our entrance scholarships, no application needed, it's just automatically applied. And bursaries is our final sort of set that we'll chat about today. So bursaries is a little bit different, where bursaries is based on financial need and scholarships are based on academic merit. So that's kind of what the difference is between those two. So at Carleton, we have our entrance bursaries, which again, you basically just fill out an application and include some of your information about how much money you made over the summer, your parents' income, whatever it is, and that is an application. However, we also have our leadership entrance bursaries, and this is again based on financial need, and you'll have to put that information in, but it's also an opportunity to brag about yourself, again, talk about what you've been involved in your community. And again, this is an application based, so keep an eye out for those dates next semester. All right, so the Carleton community, this is one of my favorite parts of the presentations. It's really exciting and fun. And I remember for me coming to university, I left all my great friends at home, and I talked a little bit at the beginning how I had a family, right? My friends in high school were my family. And when I had to leave them in September, when I was moving to Ottawa, it was a really sad time, and I was nervous, and I was, going into this basically a city. I came from a small town that was basically the same size as Carleton's population. So it was pretty terrifying. And when I got to campus, I remember first of all was welcomed my first day by an awesome group of students who are working for our fall orientation program, which I'll talk about shortly. But I remember going to Carleton Expo, and this was on my third day of school. And Carleton Expo is essentially where all of our clubs and societies, over 300 of them, are lined up around one of our big rooms at Carleton. And you basically go in and you can sign up and put your email down, and that's how you join a club. So it's super accessible, which is really cool. But I remember going in and I saw the rowing team. And I remember thinking, all right, this is it. I'm signing up for the rowing team. I think this is a really cool thing to get a part of. I can be active while being involved. So I go and sign my name up. I put my email address down and I left. And a couple days later, I got an email from them and they were like, hey, Celine, we're so excited for you to be a part of the rowing team. Super pumped to see you at our 5 a.m. practice tomorrow. And I remember literally disregarding the email, deleting it, thinking there is no way I'm waking up for a 5 a.m. training session on the Ottawa River. So I disregarded it and I sat there and I was like, man, this is a bummer. I don't know what I'm going to be a part of now. I was so, excited about the rowing team. And not too much longer later, a couple days, I remember getting a knock at the door from one of my floor mates. His name was Marwan, and he was an upper year student. So he came to the door and he said, hey, I'm a part of Relay for Life committee. I started it last year and I love this group. You've got to come. We're down committee members this year. We'd love for you to be a part of it. I'd love for you to come. So I was like, okay, great. When's the meeting? Tomorrow. All right. So I went with him to the meeting. And I remember just walking in, and this community of people that were surrounding me in this committee were just incredible. Relay for Life ended up being my family and my community over my 4 years of university. And this was an opportunity for us to raise money for cancer research, which was something that really hit home for me, and I'm sure so many people, right? So it was such a cool opportunity to be involved in this. We ended up being such a successful group where we were one of the top fundraisers of all Canadian universities for cancer research through Relay for Life. So something that I've been very proud of. So my point here is, when you come to the Carleton community, there's always a place for you. There's over 31,000 students from over 150 countries. So you'll find people who are just like you, who have the same interests as you, who motivate you to be your best person and to be a part of, these amazing opportunities and clubs and societies. So, be excited for it, get involved. That's my biggest piece of advice. So fall orientation is something I quickly chatted about there, but fall orientation is a great opportunity. It sort of welcomes students from, coming into their first year. So whether you're an off-campus student or you live on residence, you'll be able to partake in these awesome events for your full first week of university. You'll be led by an upper year facilitator who becomes a great friend. And this is really a great way to meet your best friends as well during fall orientation. Actually, this year, because it was virtual, they actually ended up having one of their events was doing an online concert. It was a study break with the Arkells, and students were able to actually go face to face and have meetings and talk to some of the main singers and musicians from the Arkells, which is really cool. And on the right here, I have to give a shout out to Roxy. This is one of our therapy dogs on campus and actually one of my old professor's dogs. So he used to bring her into class all the time. But again, therapy dogs, just a way for our students to just feel that ease and transition coming to university and really relax and be excited about coming to Carleton and, de-stress when they need to. Living in residence was one of my highlights of my 4-year degree. Being a resident student in first year, it really was where I met some of my best friends to this day, who I still keep in touch with and see. I met them my first week of university. At Carleton, we have quite a few ways to customize your first year experience, whether you get a single room or you get a double traditional where there's 2 single beds, or maybe you're even getting a suite style, which is kind of what I had in first year. But it really is a cool way, to meet people and to feel a part of that community. In the middle, you'll see some photos of our cafeteria. It is the best food. I'm telling you, it is so good. I miss it even now when I get an opportunity to go on to the cafeteria on campus. I'm so pumped about it. They make all the food fresh right in front of you. They've got all these different stations like pasta making station and sandwich making station, and they really are great with dealing with dietary accommodations as well. So if you're halal, gluten-free, dairy-free, whatever it is, the chefs are really there to support you and to customize your meals as well. My favorite part of the CAF was the ice cream station. I ate ice cream every single day in first year, and my parents would never let me do that at home. So I'm so excited to, have my freedom and eat what I wanted and have dessert every single night. So Residence is amazing. Definitely check that out. But really, it is your home away from home. And finally, one of my favorite pieces, we're talking about varsity sports. And varsity sports was an interesting thing for me because when I came to university, I knew zero things about sports in general. I had no idea what the rules were for any games or for any types of sports. So I kind of didn't really find a lot of interest in it until I remember being in first year and people were like, Celine, you have to buy tickets to Panda Game. This is like the best event for Carleton students. It's like homecoming for Carleton. So I remember the tickets went on sale and I bought them the day of, and thank God, because after that weekend, the tickets actually sold out. So I remember I woke up on Panda Game Day and I was so excited with my friends. You know, we got all dressed up. We had our Carleton red sweaters on. We put, lipstick under our eyes, red lipstick, to look really cool and all about as a part of a Carleton community. And I remember we walked down to the CFL Stadium in Ottawa, which is where our Red Blacks play. And when we were outside, all you could hear was like and chanting and excitement from students and screaming. And we were like, what is going on? And we literally walked into the stadium and there was not one seat that was open. Like, this place was packed, from bottom to top. On one side was students in red and black, and on the other side was students in like burgundy. And this event was actually where our Carleton Raven football team played against the Ottawa football team. And it's a really, friendly rivalry. And it was just an amazing day. And I highly suggest you folks check it out when you're Ravens as well. Go to those events. They're so fun. So after that, it really sparked my interest in varsity because I realized how fun they were and how much it excited me to be a Raven. And so I started going to more events. And on the right here, you'll actually see one of my great friends. He was in my residence floor in first year, and his name is Marcus. And Marcus, he actually was a part of our Ravens basketball team. And the men's basketball team have led 15 out of 19, the last 19 national titles in Canada, right? So they've won that many. They're amazing. They're like professionals to watch. They're so much fun. So whether it's Panda Game for football, Capital Hoops for our basketball team, or even the, our Colonel By Classic for our hockey team, there's so many opportunities to support our Ravens and to feel like one yourself. You almost feel like a varsity athlete. But, if you do want to stay active on campus, there's a lot of ways to do so. So you can join, intramural sports where you're playing dodgeball, volleyball, soccer, hockey, like whatever it is. You can go and join our gym, right? You get a gym pass with your tuition. You can go to our gym every day and stay active that way. Swim in our Olympic-sized swimming pool. Whatever it is, there's always ways to stay active on campus. And really what these photos are really suggesting right now, they're crisp and they're beautiful. And this is a really great way to view our campus through our 360 experience. So obviously this year is a little bit weird, harder to get to places and be on campus, but we actually have our virtual tour, which is new this year. And it's a great way to get 360 views of all the lab facilities, classrooms, our outdoor spaces on campus, residents even. So definitely check out our virtual tours at Carleton. All right, before we kind of wrap things up here, I really want to encourage you folks to sign up for Carleton 360. And I've talked about that a little bit through this presentation, but I really want to drive that home here. It's really a great way to stay connected to us, to get more information about Carleton, about your program. And so, when you go on Carleton 360, you can actually click this button that says mail me a viewbook. And this is a great way to get a viewbook, first of all, from us if you don't have one yet. It is one of the best resources to get as an as a prospective student for any university. But also it allows you to have an opportunity to receive some of our Raven swag that we're giving out this year. So we have these awesome sweaters, we've got masks. Masks are like the new big thing this year. I'm sure you're all repping some really cool ones in high school. So definitely sign up, click view, request a viewbook, and we'll send you, some Raven swag, which is awesome. So with that, please, like I said, sign up for 360, check out our admissions website, and also check out our socials. We're on, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and it's a great way to stay connected and see up-to-date events that are happening. Stay connected to us. Join us for our events coming up. Ask questions. We want to be there to support you folks. We understand it's a weird year, a weird time, and just stressful in general. So please stay connected. We're always here to support you. But before I go, I do want to mention that actually last week, week I had an awesome coffee break with some students where they were actually able to come on, they registered, we chatted all about Carleton, all about their program. So I highly suggest you do a registration for the coffee break, and I can talk to you a little bit more about my story and give you some more information about the program that you would like as well. So we'll see you there. Thank you so much for listening. Have an awesome afternoon. Cheers, folks.